Morning, everyone. So this is a quick Ocho halftime report. We're 3 rounds through. We're actually part of the way through round four, so some of the results on this tab are not actually the current rankings. But we'll talk a little bit about where it kind of lands and what it's looking like. I will say, I'm off this weekend, so there's a good chance tomorrow I'll stream some games on my Twitch channel, so you can look out for that. I don't know how long I'll do it for, but I'll probably be watching some games and talking about what's going on. But let's look at how the tournament's been going so far. So we'll just look at like the top spots, right? So right now we have England in first. We have 3 teams above 290, which would be Canada, the French, and England. And then we have another cluster of people with Switzerland, Denmark, us, Italy. These 2 teams were actually in last and they shook, so they're the only ones whose scores are completely updated. And then we have a good group of teams around. We're not that far ahead. We're 266 to 260. So I guess if you want to cut it off, maybe at the 255, like the top 12, like these are some interesting matchups. They're not playing each other. It's QTL versus the Cobras. So these are teams that, well, Italy has actually done well all 3 rounds, but like the Cobras got like 100, 60, 100. The Dings got like 60, 100, 100. Russia's been like solid each round. So I think even in round four, there's still some disparity of like team strength because if you got 60 the first round, you dropped pretty far and then even if you got 100, there's still a good chance you played just another like poor team who just happened to get 60, 100, because there's 30 some teams, so it kind of fleshes out. So now I think these are like make or break rounds for a couple teams, like Russia versus the Dings. I expect Russia to win, and I think they are winning by a lot. And we'll go to the individual stuff, but like that's a big round for like one team. Russia needs a big win because they got to get back in the running. But two, it kind of shows, it's whether are you a pretender or contender type thing. The same for the Cobras versus Italy. They're both around 260s, and it's kind of like, well, if one team gets 100, then you're pretty much out of the running after that. Same with us against Denmark. We're not that much farther ahead. One thing that we have going for us is that, and for some other teams too, is if we've already played England, we lost 66-94. It was a close round, not closer than the score, I think. The same with Denmark. We'll go over that. But so this is like the make or break round, because after this, you'll kind of get a sense of what teams are near the top and the fact that some have played each other already. So that'll start to kind of, I don't know, we'll get a good sense. Any team probably, you can start, they're all so tight scores. After 3 rounds, it's really tight, right? You can only be 300 or 180, and so if you get 100, the lowest you can be is 220. So technically, a lot of these teams are still in it. Like even Germany down here, it's just a matter they need to get 100 this round. Like if you're down here, you better cap the team you're playing, or else you're gonna have a hard time coming in first. Maybe top 3 is possible if you get like 90, 100. And we can look at team pairings. So obviously some teams have been playing, and we'll focus on the top tables. So England has already started playing Canada, and we can click here and see. Got a big 20 for the Ogres, and then this. Some interesting matchups left. I'm curious how Craig does, and if Tonka can beat this. I think the best players on Canada are Matthew and Doug, and probably him. I don't know whether this guy is good or not. But so like if Craig can take out the Sylvan Elves like big, I don't know if like Colin is like one of their best players. So like I think if Craig wins this, it's gonna be a big win for England. I think if he gets like 15 plus, it could just snowball it all for them. Because I think, like I said, I think he's their best player. These two are their best players. And so if they go down, like if he only gets a 10 and he gets like a 15, I don't know if the rest of the team can make up for it. Maybe in the matchups they can. I don't know. It could be close. I mean, who knows? You never know. Like it could be 120-0, you know, one way or the other. ID versus ID could be, it's probably a 10-ish 10 unless something crazy happens. Like, but you know, when if this just runs over the elves, and then it's a 20-0 the other way, and it's a closer matchup. I think England's going to win given the pairings, but I think this is the match that's most important. The Vermins versus the elves. Then we got Swiss versus Relentless Company. I don't know a lot about these players, to be fair. Obviously, I know like he's really good, and Coco's really good. So I could definitely see this being a tight round, but I don't know enough about like in here. I know he's really good too. I know both teams have good players. I just don't know enough about them to like predict who's going to win this round. So that's a curious one. And this is an interesting one because this is the break round of one team has 290s and one team's in the 260s. So if the 260 team wins, it kind of really flips who's at the top because the 290 team is still in it. But, you know, let's put it this way. If the French get 100, the Swiss are probably out of it. But if the Swiss get 100, the French aren't out of it. So it kind of creates more teams towards that top bubble. We have already played 6 games against Denmark, and it's gone very well. Obviously, we've already capped them after 6. They were very close games. I think I can look at all, and I've watched all these games, at least part of them, and all the games could have went, I think, the other way. All were very tight. Things broke open. I mean, my own game against Trolls, like it's 20, but I took a big risk with like a 9 Swift stride charge turn 1, and if I fail it, it's a lot harder game. I'm not going to say it's over yet, but it's a lot more complicated. And making the charge definitely opened up the game for me in a matchup that I think was very hard. 2 Shrieking Horrors versus my list can be very difficult for warriors, but I took risks, and so yeah, we'll get a cap. So that's good for us. It means we're still in it. Who else we got? QTL versus Italy. All right. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. This is good. I mean, he's probably their best player, or maybe the Vermin's Form guy is. So yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know. I favor Italy, I'd say, because they've been consistently they got 91, 91, and 84. So they've just been getting smaller wins, but they've played the Russians, the Swiss, and a Spanish team who's probably not that bad. Like they've had a tough road. I respect these guys because they didn't really get an easy matchup. I mean, this team is in the top, and the Russians aren't bad either. I mean, the only reason the Russians are probably as low as they are is because they've actually. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to go to the Russians. I think they've had a tough road. They've had French who are pretty good, QTL who's good, and they had a pretty easy round, I guess, this round. But if they can kind of seal the deal and shut down the Dings, I think they're a very good team to contend with. Like that's why the last 2 rounds are really interesting because, you know, even if England gets the 100, right? Or where's the leaderboard? Right, even if England gets the 100 and puts itself, you know, it would still be 28 ahead of us. All it takes is, you know, a QTL beating them or tying them, or, you know, the Russians coming back and putting on a good win. So you're never safe until the end. We've already played them, so we can't play them again. So it'll be interesting next round. You know, who wins this one? How far did things drop? You know, if we jump up to second, which is possible depending on how this round goes, then it could matter. You know, they can't play us again, so they'd play the next person, and we play the 4th person. So yeah, I think round 5 will really set the stage for the end game. Now we technically don't control our own destiny because we don't get to play England again, assuming England wins this round. So we'd have to depend on some other team knocking points off them, which is possible. I actually think any of the, you know, QTL, Swiss, Relentless, and Russians could all do it. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I thought our round was pretty Closer than the 66, but I mean, definitely winnable for sure. But just kind of like with the Denmark, right? Things can swing. I mean, we swung way the other direction the next round. But yeah, that's the halfway point. I mean, obviously, hopefully, teams are still having fun in this mix down here. But yeah, you never know with I don't know about Poland. Germany's probably the biggest disappointment, mainly because Heinrich just sucks. Um, I mean, Thomas is doing all he can to win his games, and but then you have when who they lose to? The French. Well, they got pretty bad by the French actually. Yeah, when Guido is like your second best player or second best scorer. Oh, he's not. He's second actually. He sucked the first round. Get him, Guido. I don't expect Guido shouldn't be the one carrying you. It should be like Thomas and Heinrich and Philip. But I guess it's one of those things like they're obviously strong and they're definitely solid and good players. Half the team was on the ETC winning team. It's just sometimes it happens. Yeah, I think so. My predictions will be in the end. I think QTL and the Russians are going to make a big jump this round potentially and make a spot for the top, which we might get it. And then it depends if England can fend off them and because they're probably going to have to play, assuming they win, they're probably going to have to play one of these two and then probably QTL or Russians if things go how I think. So those are not easy rounds by any means. And then so from our perspective, we have to crush the next team hopefully, and then maybe crush another team or do solid. So it'll be interesting how it pans out. But yeah, that's my little quick update for how the Ocho is going. Tune into games on UB. The password is 99% of the time Ocho. And yeah, look out. I might be streaming tomorrow on Twitch, just shit talking games and watching. So thanks for listening.